For them, the objective is not to understand, or not to work it out. Let us understand, you understand us. No, they're not. They want to make you angry. And so, we should not become angry. We should keep our calm and understand and work with patience. Patience is very important.
Very soft clap.
The soft clap, it kind of went along with the wonderful soft and patient tone of Dr. Mashallah. And really, that truly is mashallah, very wise advice. When you find that blood is boiling and you see truly that on the opposite end, it's not really a matter of ignorance, it's a matter of really pushing the limits. That's hard to do, but that's fantastic advice, and we can do it, but next, for both Dr. Muzammil Siddiqui and for Sheikh Musliman's question, how, and of course everyone else can add on as well, how can we unite as an ummah, as a Muslim community worldwide, when we have challenges organizing even sometimes small activities at the local level? How do you, maybe Dr. Muzammil, if you'd like to answer first, or?
We have to learn how to live with our differences. We do have differences. We have differences of our different ethnicities. Try to understand each other, differences of culture, differences of food, differences of background, all of these things. We also have differences of schools of thought. We cannot say no, everybody should give up. People have to try to work it out. There are a lot of things in common. Beautiful thing is, it's being said by someone, we cooperate with each other in the things that we agree on. And we forgive and find an excuse in the things we disagree on. But one thing we have to avoid is not calling names. Because I differ with something else, kafir, immediately kafir. This is the takfiri mentality has to be avoided. Try to see how we can work it out, how to work it out. Maybe you disagree with something, but okay, we have a lot of things we agree. So let's work on those things that we agree, and nobody will not find anybody with whom you agree 100%. So if 51% agree, alhamdulillah, you can do it more.
Just one thing I would add, subhanAllah, because it's really hard to do anything Dr. Muzammil says, is we talk about tolerance for difference of opinions, toleration within the Muslim community. This person has this particular understanding of Islam, another person is more conservative or more liberal, or they follow this method or that method, or which school of thought or which university in the Muslim world do the scholars they listen to, whatever it is. I think that we need to actually move past the conversation of toleration and into the conversation of appreciation. Because toleration is kind of like, I can tolerate a spider that walks past me and not crush it, right? But that doesn't do anything for me or the spider. I mean, I would hope that we as Muslims are much closer to each other than a spider would be. So appreciation is really to love in each other those things that we do right, or that we agree with, or that we really appreciate. So that's something that has to come from the heart, and that's very different than a competitive spirit, which is to feel bad when another organization or institution or whatever ideology that you disagree with does something good. If you feel bad when that happens, then that's a kind of hate. That's a kind of internal hate that we have to, purify. So appreciation is to look at each other and truly love in one another whatever is good, and to be happy when we see each other succeed, to pray that Allah increases their success, to work with one another in the areas of agreement, to forgive each other in the areas of disagreement, to have the best suspicion of each other, I think is a really important one. If I know someone personally well, and they belong to a particular Muslim organization, I know they're not a corrupt person. Okay? I know they're not they're about corruption. They do something through the organization that I disagree with, I will not boycott their institution. I personally don't believe in that, because that assumes of them something that is much worse than, let's say, that the specific decision they made. I can maybe not be there for the particular thing I disagree with, but I will still engage them in other areas. And as Pamela, as was mentioned, there's so many people that we would agree with on different things and disagree with on other things, and if we were to just boycott each other, officially or unofficially, what does that do for our own community? If we want to preach a message of love, then we have to practice it first with ourselves.
So, I hate to follow two very loving people and give you the brutal realities of what's happening in the streets. The fact is, we still, as a community, do not know how to manage differences of opinion. And exactly what Dr. Siddiqui said, that this idea, okay, well, they may not say kafir anymore. They used to say you're a kafir, which just meant they disagreed with you. Now they may say, oh, he's a sellout, or he's on the lap of this or that. Or they're maybe just getting paid, by the government. These are satanic whispers. And this is a cop-out for dealing with differences of opinion. Some people want to engage, some people want to protest. Okay? So let's allow for both. Some people think we should have dialogue with people in the pro-Israel community. Some people think, no, we should boycott the pro-Israel community. You're going to have strong difference of opinion on these issues that can be very emotional. But the Prophet ﷺ taught us one thing, which is what? He came to teach us manners. And the manner is that when we disagree, we sit down and talk and come up with a strategy. Here's the common ground. If we only agree on 10%, what is that 10%? And then just say we disagree on the other. Or if we can manage the disagreements to say we disagree, but we know we're trying to achieve the same goal. At least strive for that. Even if you don't like what the other group or is doing. Otherwise, as Sheikh Muslim said, you're going to have more and more protests and boycotts of Muslims against Muslims. And this is, you go from differences of opinion to divisiveness, and it becomes a worse problem. So the etiquette of discourse is so important. Just one case. There were some students who did not like what MPAC was doing on a certain issue, so they wrote a petition, and we invited them to come to the office so we can talk about it. The response was silence. They did not want to come and even sit with us to talk about this issue. So to me, that's a red flag. Either they're very confused, or somebody is somehow, I'm not into conspiracy theories, but someone is definitely conspiring to put a bug in their ear that MPAC is, the devil incarnate, whatever. And really, honestly, it doesn't bother us. We'll continue doing it because if it's out of our conviction, we're doing it for Islam and America for the future. And as long as people are in this discussion, we have serious disagreements, but we're working all for Islam, that's fine. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't make us the same, even within the Muslim community. We are not the same. But when they don't even have the confidence, or they are suspicious so much that they cannot, like when you say Assalamu alaikum, when somebody says Assalamu alaikum, you're supposed to at least say Alaikum assalam. At least say, no thank you, we're very busy, or no, we don't believe that a meeting is, but complete silence. I'm very worried that we are losing the akhlaq, the mannerism of, how to engage one another, especially on managing differences of opinion. And Dr. Manor had one of his most famous lines at the Shura dinners. The Shura's job is to figure out how to manage differences of opinion, not to get everybody to agree. I think that's more important than get everybody to agree.
I just wanted to add a story about what you just mentioned in terms of the petition. I saw the petition, and there were students who actually came and asked me about it, and I told them that there's the reason why I didn't sign the petition, even though I was similarly concerned with the particular speaker, was because in the wording of it, the very last few lines of it were insulting. And I'm like, it's a different, if the petition did not have an insult and it just said this is why we differ, then I could sign it. But because it's insulting, and I don't believe that that's the etiquette of a Muslim towards another Muslim, we shouldn't do it. At the dinner, the MPAC dinner, the speaker that was there, my husband and I actually, we just waited outside until he left, and then we came in and joined the dinner. And that was our way of showing that we appreciate what MPAC does. We have a change or a difference in opinion with a particular personality, but that doesn't preclude us from engaging with such an amazing organization. So.
Who that is?
Maybe if you check your spam folder. I hope there's an email there.
I had enough of her.
I mean, I'll give the benefit of that. I didn't respond to this. Don't know how to use my new power.
I love the message, really, of what we're talking about. Some of you may think, okay, we're getting off topic here, but clearly we're not, because we're talking about the crisis of ISIS is talking about divisiveness, sending out the wrong message, promoting extremism. How can we counteract that if within the own Muslim community, you know, if we have issues amongst fellow organizations that are working towards the same end goal? And if I may really take an example of food, for example, because you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us so many different flavors, so many different spices to use to do the same thing for beef, for example, or chicken. Can you say there's only one way to make chicken? There isn't, or beef. It's kind of a silly analogy, but really, I'm sorry. Okay, we don't watch it. Sorry, right before we came. Family show for us now. So, but my point is, not only is there different flavors in terms of approaching the same work that all of you are doing, but also there's different flavors of what gets Muslims excited, and some people want to be more politically activated. Some people want to be more active within the community, working with youth. There are so many different avenues and venues for working towards that end goal of peace and understanding among Muslims and amongst all of humanity, that we should not condemn one another for having different methods. And you never know which method will attract what individual to do something and to actually be proactive. So we definitely are happy to see that we have a healthy engagement here. So now we have a question for Brother Salam. We are constantly in an apology mode and held hostage by media and expectations of our response. When and how do we as Americans get out of this cycle? How can we get out of this cycle?
Yeah, this is the question. I mean, how to get out of it. Number one, I just want to make a distinction between apologizing and taking leadership position. None of us, when we condemn, we're not apologizing. We're not responsible, right? So I disagree with this notion that we're, being apologetic when we talk about this issue. I think we're taking leadership on this issue to take a clear stand, so that again, our children and our fellow Americans at least know that we are taking that stand. Because when you don't take a stand, you create a vacuum and you let others define you. The biggest problem with Islamophobia is what? The Steve Emersons and the Daniel Pipes and the Bill O'Reillys and the Megyn Kellys and everyone in Fox News. I want to say some dirty word in Arabic, but I won't. Is trying to define who we are. So to reach the goal of when we get out of it is when we define ourselves. So we have to envision, what does that mean when we are able to define ourselves? We have to have influence in the media, we have to have some influence in the government, we have to have a narrative, and we have to have people we need resources in our community that does that. Right now the resources, we have beautiful mosques, I love this mosque, I'm speaking, and we build more and more mosques, but where are the programs that are sending this message out to the larger society? How much money are we putting into that? Right? And there is a category of zakat of what? Softening the hearts of people. That is Islam is telling us, use zakat to soften the hearts of people. So if we go with that conviction, that purpose, and do a good public relations, community relations, public information campaign, we can then see, I think, some progress that we begin to define our own narrative. So, bottom line, we are not apologizing, but we're taking leadership on an issue. So we define our own narrative. We want Islam and Muslims to be a part of the solution on this issue, even though we have nothing to do with what caused that problem. But the fact that Islam is brought into this issue, that's our responsibility, and that's what requires leadership.
very important. Does anybody else have anything to add on that? Yes, that was well said. Very good. Okay, next question is by Brother Appeal, if you could just kind of wave. He posted this, asked this question, where and what group is preparing the youth for community leadership? I would like to connect with that group, he says. And this is, what group is preparing the youth for community leadership?
I think we all are.
Okay, so if we could just go over some of the programs. So we have what we call the Young Leaders Summit, and we take Muslims who are in, maybe last years of high school and college and maybe postgraduate degrees. We take a group to Washington, and they go in the White House, and they meet with the senior staff of the White House, and they have a conversation. Then we take them to the Congress, and they do the same thing there. Then we take them to the federal agencies, and think tanks, and media. And this opens the eyes of people to see the opportunity. The secret in America, for those who are successful in politics, is that they see the opportunity. Communities that don't see the opportunity are helpless. We want Muslims to see for themselves. And so we take them there and they learn how to engage. Then we have something else called a Hollywood Summit, where we go into Universal or I was going to say Mickey Mouse, but Disney, or these other Mickey Mouse operations in Hollywood, and they sit with Hollywood producers, script writers, people who do shows, including Tyrants, including 24 Homeland. Those are the people that are making films and television shows about us. News tells you how to think. Hollywood tells you how to feel. And learning the mastery of creating stories to show people how to feel, Muslims should learn that art as well, so we can begin influencing in the future. We have a news media summit as well. So that's how we're engaging bringing in young people to learn to be part of these sectors so that they can gain influence. We have a step-ladder approach. First you establish a presence, then you gain respect, then you gain acceptance to be at the table. Keith Ellison said, if you're not at the table of decision-making, you'll be on the menu of that table. And then you gain influence. That's the step-ladder approach that we're trying to teach all Muslims in being more effective at their work.
I would like to invite one of our youth here, someone to come and say what the youth are doing. I think this is important to hear the youth say something.
A better youth would probably be Asad. He was the president of the Muslim youth group here last year. But what do you guys mean? What do you mean? Well, we have a Muslim youth group here that engages high school students mainly and maybe younger college students. And they meet regularly and they put on a whole series of events for this masjid for the youth and for elder people as well. So that's a great way to get involved if you're young and you want to get involved. If you're a little bit older, we have all of the programming, including this program, was formed by the programs committee, which is formed of young professionals. So like between the ages of like 20 to like 27. So really young people that come together, and we meet every Saturday at I think 11 a.m. In the shura room, and of course it's open to the public. So if you're here and you have time on your hands and you want to do something for the community, there's a lot of avenues to get involved with. Come speak to me. Come speak to any of the organizers here that you see, and we can point you in the right direction, inshallah.
Tomorrow we have a food bank volunteering every month. About 40-50 of us goes every month to the food bank.
Right. So we also have a food bank. We also have a food bank thing here. Yeah, food pantry, and then we also get involved in the Second Harvest Food Bank for the greater community, and we go out every month and.
And also once a month we go and do the laundry love behind the beach, about 50 or 60 homeless people, and we do the laundry and then we
There's a bunch of stuff. That was Brother Uncle Leon Alam. So if you want to talk to him, he's a great resource to talk to.
This is a proof that you can be useful
all of them.